Food is more than just sustenance. It's a key part of our culture, social experience, and pleasure. Now, meat has historically been the leading source of dietary protein around the world, but with a shift to non-animal meat products, a large problem arises. Alternatives such as plant-based or lab-grown meats are falling short of expectations, as they continue to prove themselves inferior in taste, cost, or health when compared to animal-based meat. For starters, consumption of beef in Canada has been declining for the past 40 years, set to reach a 37% relative decrease since the 1980s. In parallel, 51% of Canadians and 30% of Americans, namely younger generations, wish to limit or remove meat completely from their diet, citing health, environmental, and financial concerns. That's almost 120 million North Americans seeking to lower their animal meat consumption. But why should you care? Well, unlike vegetarians and vegans who don't enjoy meat as a life choice, these individuals known as flexitarians tend to enjoy the taste of meat. Unfortunately, current meat alternatives are disappointing. A taste comparison between animal meat and its alternatives showed that assuming prices were equal, as little as 11% of participants would purchase an alternative. There is hope, however. A 2018 study showed 32% of participants would choose to consume meat alternatives provided the quality, taste, and nutrition more closely mimicked animal meat. Extrapolating that to the $950 billion global animal meat industry, meat alternatives would claim $304 billion of that market. Keep in mind, global populations are growing, and with that consistent demand for food, this market has that potential. Meat alternatives have been around for hundreds of years, with earliest mention in the year 965, referring to tofu and tempeh use in Asia. Since then, they have fallen out of favor as meat alternatives due to innovation in the space, but are still popular as unique protein dishes to this date. Even Western cultures had mention of meat alternatives through the 1800s. All around the world, culturally unique meat alternatives were introduced to diets for a variety of reasons, including meat scarcity and financial concern. In some regions, even ethical and moral concerns drove for reduced animal meat consumption. The 1900s saw soy taking hold of the meat alternative industry, setting roots deep enough to be noticeable today in some plant-based products. With positive health claims and a texture that more accurately mimics meat, soy products showed initial and lasting success. The 2000s, however, came with explosive innovation in the meat alternative space. Advancements in technology have companies like Impossible and Beyond Meat tackling meat alternatives from the plant-based approach. Impossible Foods market their products as the most meat-like, using soy-derived heme, which is an iron-containing molecule common in meat, added through genetically modified yeast. Beyond takes a different approach, focusing on non-GMO ingredients and a soy-free product by using pea protein-based solution. With their burgers launched, deals were signed with restaurants like TGI Fridays and A&W in the 2010s, skyrocketing consumer exposure to new age meat alternatives. At this point, the meat alternative movement started to really solidify itself as a part of our culture. Unfortunately, these burgers are pumped full of sodium or fats to compensate for their lack of true meat flavor. And despite this flavor boost, Ethan Brown, Beyond Meat CEO, was still quoted saying, their plant-based burger is only 70% of the way there, which, for a product trying to fill that meat void, is simply unacceptable. In fact, customers are expected to pay 3 times the price for 70% of a finished product. The Beyond Burger was not the company's flagship attempt at a plant-based solution either. A chicken strip product actually came first in 2012, but was so far off the mark that it was discontinued in 2019. These strips were falling short of that 70% there caliber. The message is clear. There is work to do, even for established products. Meat alternative solutions on the market also lack diversity, only offering burgers, ground, and sausage options at the very most. Innovation is much slower for delicacies like steaks, bone-in cuts, and other high-end meat products that are a core component of meat consumption. In fact, more Americans consume steak products relative to burgers from 2011 to 2019. Even companies taking the lab-based approach like Mosa Meat and Memphis Meats don't solve the problem. Not only have these solutions yet to reach consumers, lab-grown meats are notorious for their price tag. Imagine a burger dropping 99.2% in price over the last 10 years and still being over $2,000. Even with downtrending prices, lab-based meats are still years away for the average consumer. All of these solutions are lacking the same thing, a holistic approach. While motives for their innovation are good and true, the end result is always lacking from one of these perspectives. To solve this problem, we must consider cost, health, and taste equally in all fronts to ensure that any alternative made doesn't fall short from any perspective. We should expect more from meat alternatives and use them as a segue into a new age of food, an age where food is environmentally conscious, health driven, and of course, enjoyable. Thank you.